So we're going to get started with week 14. I want to apologize first of all for my voice. My kids got me sick this week, so I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, show you some different videos, keeping in mind that this week is going to be talking about how to differentiate using technology. Um, and so let's start off first by letting you know that that within IU, there will be some courses that will focus on special education. So this is not going to be the only time that you kind of talk about it with students with special needs. We will actually talk about it in a couple of different courses, including one course that covers assistive technologies. Um, so just the basic things to know about this is that teachers are legally mandated to assist students with special needs, and that there are tools that can actually help make this a huge difference. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because you'll get this in other places. But there's the IDEAS Act, which talks about individuals with disabilities, and it basically requires the United States to provide education for students that do have special needs. And those that aren't covered in it, like things like ADHD and ADD, that are more for supporting learning modifications, that's supported by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. So, in essence, if a student has a learning problem or any other kind of special need, then there's an IEP, an individualized education plan, where people actually work together. Usually it's the parents, teachers, school administrators, and sometimes the students when it's appropriate, to talk about what are their disabilities and how can we help them. And we usually try and take, or they usually try and take the path of the most inclusion. So how do we include the students in daily activities as much as possible? And here's additional information here about the IEP. It has to talk about performance of the current performance of the student. What are some goals for that particular thing? How are they going to participate in states and district-wide tests? What kind of services or accommodations are needed? So oftentimes technology will be included in this, like the student needs to have an iPad, or the student needs to have a note taker, the student needs to have even an aide to help them. So you can go here to the National Center for Learning Disabilities to get more information. But maybe one of the things you're asking yourself is how many students are really classified as having special needs. So you can kind of see from this graphic here the different types of things that, and this is from 2012, but so things may have changed slightly from there, but 13% of US students receive special education services. So thinking about that with your own students and in your own classrooms, there will be a large number of your students that will pass through each year that will have some kind of a special need. Now, this is often some kind of specific learning disability. Sometimes it's language and speech, which is right here. Those are the two largest ones. There's other kind of health impairments or intellectual disabilities. So the larger the boxes here, the more likely it is that is occurring within the U.S. So again, you can think about what are the different things that you have, what are the different types of disabilities that are represented there. And what constitutes an assistive technology? And you can see by the definition here, any product, device, or equipment, whether acquired, commercially modified, or customized, that is used to maintain, increase, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. Now, I've seen things from like on the iPad, where the iPad, you can press different buttons and it actually talks for you. I've seen different assistive technologies that would be as simple as taking a blue transparency sheet and putting it over white paper, because that sometimes reduces visualization problems. Even the things that used to go on your pen, or pen or pencil, that would kind of help you hold your pen or pencil, that could be constituted as an assistive technology. As I said before, the least restrictive environment as possible, so we want to try and include them and promote inclusion, trying to minimize the separation for students with special needs from the general population, and provide equal access to all learning. Now, this includes gifted and talented learners. So we have, in any classroom, we have a wide range of student needs. All right, so not just thinking about students with special needs that may be on the low end or that have different difficulties, being at the average level, but also students that are gifted or talented, because those students can easily get bored. Here's one example here. I'm going to fast forward to this part right here. where you can see that they're trying to get the student to be able to respond, and the students are using iPads in order to press the buttons. Let me show you what this looks like.
Using iPads and software called Proloquo to Go, kids can not only listen to their teachers, now they can also respond.
And it's an amazing feeling to see a kid who felt that way and we didn't know, and they were having tantrums and hurting themselves, and then now they're able to communicate it to us, and we don't have those tantrums anymore.
Once the frustration of not being understood is taken away, teachers and students can focus on lessons, not behavior.
Well, a lot of our kids are nonverbal, so they can't tell us the month or the day of the week, so they can use the iPad to show us.
Today is Wednesday.
The software also works for students who are verbal but need a little extra help.
Thursday. Nice job. Thank you. We say, this is a table. And the kids are supposed to say, this is a table. Well, some of them will say, this a table or a table, and they won't use all of those words that they need to make an articulate sentence. So once they heard the iPad say it, two of our kids, it took 2 days of them hearing it on the iPad, and now they say, this is a table. They don't leave out any of those other words.
The iPad interface blends learning styles so children who absorb information differently can all understand the same lesson. Kids can read, hear, and touch the words.
Okay, so all those differences there. Here's another example here with secondary math, where the voice actually talks them through. So if you haven't seen this, where you've actually, you probably used Siri at some point in time or your voice to text on your phone. This is an example of Dragon Naturally Speaking, and it actually will type out the algebraic equation based on how the person is talking.
Minus 2x-ray minus 1 equals 0.
You can see
Next
up here
line.
how it has the words. Next line.
Review quadratic formula. Next line. Alpha equals 3, comma, Bravo equals minus 2, comma.
So you can see that other example about how you can go through and actually do the quadratic formula, or the talking might help somebody that doesn't have the ability to text or to type. So here are some different technologies that help with mobility needs, for example. In our lab in 2025, you'll notice that there are 2 chairs in the back of the room that have adjustable height tables. So that's for anybody that would have a wheelchair to be able to go underneath there. There are specialty keyboards like this that will allow you to be able to type. So this is an example here. If you push the green and then this one over here, it'll make a certain letter. So again, somebody with limited mobility would use this particular keyboard in this unit. Sometimes they have special mouse pointing devices. So this is an example of a woman that's wearing a hat, and her hat is actually the mouse. So if somebody just has control of their head, they can actually direct on the monitor, and when they move their head in a certain way, then that kind of selects things. There are other special mouse pointing devices like this one. Again, somebody that has limited mobility with their fingers might not, or with their arms might not be able to move the mouse around. So this trackball allows them to move, similar to that, or even touch screens as well. This is an example here of feet. So if people have foot mobility, they can do that. The next one are for those that have hearing needs. So this is an example here of an FM amplification system. So you have a microphone on you, and a lot of you have probably seen this in at least one of your classrooms where the teacher has a microphone and it's surround sound through the room so that teachers can save their voices. But also for students that have special learning disabilities, they might have something like this where it's plugged into their ear so they can hear the teacher. There's also speech-to-text software so that you can talk something through and then it appears in text. There are also electronic books that they can go through and be able to hear and respond to it, as well as video captioning software. So as videos go through, there's automatically closed captioning on the bottom, which YouTube also has right now. You can actually click that on your YouTube videos to be able to, any video you upload can automatically have closed captioning as well. Vision needs. So there are computer screen magnifiers, and we're actually going to show you some of this next week in class, where you're magnifying whatever's on the screen. So if you have vision problems, there's screen reading software, so it'll actually read you whatever text is on the screen, again, if you can't have vision problems. Word prediction software, which this isn't necessarily a vision need, but it could be, where, like when you are texting and your phone recommends, like, hey, is this a word you're trying to say? It saves time for you, but it also is great for students that have difficulty typing or maybe vision problems. Speech recognition software, again, or text to speech software, so anything that's written, they can hear it if they can't see it. Another one that I want to share an example with you is dyslexia, and this is actually a fairly common thing for students. And so I want to show you this example, pardon me, of a particular font that is designed for dyslexia. So you'll notice that students will often invert or flip around different words, or different letters, sorry. So they actually modify the font so that when students try to flip it, it'll go back the other way. Or widening the gap here, it's easier to recognize. Or slightly slanting different words or different letters. So that's this website here, Dyslexie font. And so it's a font that you could technically download. So this is what it looks like. It doesn't look too different, but studies have shown it's enough to at least show you, like, let's do this potential sample here for ages 16 through 18. So it's shown that students have an easier time reading this font than the typical font. My question would be, why don't we do that for all students if it's easier to read? Again, when we're thinking about differentiation, thinking about how it meets the needs of more than just students with special needs. And here's general learning needs. So for students that struggle with organization of material, and this can include your ADHD population, using graphic organizers, so something like a mind mapping thing or brainstorming like through inspiration, all of those things help your students classify information, be able to use it better. Text readers, so Co-Writer 4000 is actually a really fantastic program that helps your students suggest. What we often find is that students will try and spell a big word like beautiful, like the sky was beautiful today, and they don't know how to spell it, or they get confused and it doesn't look right, and even when they try and type it in, Microsoft Word doesn't recognize it as beautiful, so instead they switch to using smaller words like nice. So we want to make sure that we also figure out how can we use technology to help all students. So that's the end of our class prep. We're going to be working on differentiation with technology, so thinking about how all of these things can help us differentiate for a wide range of learners. How do we meet every single student's needs?